This week in comic books in the lands of DC, we get Dark Crisis #2 that came out, and Black Adam, because a movie's coming out, is taking his rightful role as leader of the new Justice League. But for how long is going to be the question. We'll talk about it. Also, in the land of Marvels, we get count them, two C-list villains that finally return back into a comic book format. And I wish they would have done more with one, and I hope they don't harp too much on the other. You just can't satisfy a fan these days. And in the land of independence, we get Closet #2 comes out as well. And I'm sorry, the dad's just that dude's a punk. He's just a punk. We're going to talk about that and a stack full of comic books. Let's hit an intro and jump into it. Hey, you wonderful weirdos. It's everybody's favorite uncle, Pocan Joe. And I'm back with a whole new stack of comic books for this week. And I can't wait to jump into these. So let's just jump into them. First thing first, when a movie comes out, the comic books kind of lead into it. You can't really talk bad about that, right? Because in the 80s, if there was a cartoon/toy line of something, damn sure that Jim Shooter was going to make sure a Marvel comic book came out of it. So with that said, we get Hawkman. This is Black Adam, Justice Society Files, Hawkman. So you've seen the advertisement for these in the recent DC books that have been coming out. So how was it? This was good. I like what they're doing with Hawkman. I always thought you could do more with that character without it coming off campy and weird. And in this one, it's not really an origin story or anything along those lines. This is more of a light introduction to this new kind of Hawkman that is out there. I really thought it was smart. We get a little Dr. Fate action in here as well. The art in it is great. And also, we get Gentleman Ghost. I guess you could say it was kind of a new rebirthing of Gentleman Ghost, because that's who the gent was in here. They even kind of highlighted it a little bit at one point, where they even kind of had him in his monocle and all that stuff. It was good. It was good. The secondary story behind it, great story. I love the way that they brought in these kind of exotic materials that are in the DC universe, like nth metal and things along those lines. So we got a little bit of story about that. Whole thing was a jewel or a museum heist through an unnamed villain in the background, right? We're used to that kind of storytelling. And it was beautifully done. And out of it, we got Gentleman Ghost, who was defeated. And the Dr. Fate thing was weird. I don't think it's really Dr. Fate. I think it's like a negative version of him or some sort of hallucination that's being used. But if you didn't read it, I don't want to say you missed out, and I'm not going to say it's pertinent to anything in DC lore, but it is a fun read. So if you enjoy reading comic books, I would definitely pick it up. You won't be disappointed then. Next, and I'm super happy I got this cover. I don't normally cover buy. It's a rare thing for me to cover buy, especially with modern comics. But this Dark Crisis #2 homage cover, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? It's just right? Such a good book. All right, the story itself, everything just kind of takes place at Teen Tower, right? And Slade Wilson just attacked it with a bunch of villains, and they're like killing it right now because Justice League is out of the picture, right? They're dead. They're not dead. They're not dead at all. They lie. They sit on a throne of lies. But anyway, so they finally beat him up and everything. Jonathan Kent shows up, being the new Superman and everything. And who better to fight him than Cyborg Superman? He shows up, they kind of battle it out. But for some reason, Pariah randomly draws everybody back. It didn't make any, sense why that happened. It's just something that happened. Pull the troops back, we're winning. It's like, what? I didn't. I'm sure it will be explained to us. I'm sure there's a grander plan to it. But, that kind of took me out of the story for a second. I was like, oh. And also all boys from the Green Lantern Corps, well, they're going to join in on the fight. That's right. It's the Corps. You got Gardner. You got the thing that looks like a giant pig. The thing with a bunch of arms. The lady with the 1980s sunglasses, right? She's rocking it. I'm not a huge Green Lantern fan. It's like 4 that I can actually tolerate. Being able to make anything is probably the saddest MacGuffin anything. But yeah, lots of great villains in the background here. You can go through and spot your favorite ones. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That was just great. Okay, Batman Killing Time. So this is another one of our our villains just kind of randomly shows up in here. We get Clock King. His first appearance, and I have it in my notes if I can look across here. Clock King's first appearance was in World's Finest number 111, right? That's who I believe picked up the eyeball at the end if you read this. If you didn't read this, so like all the goons, and when I say all the goons, 234 goons emerge onto a park to get this eye of Christ, right? I think really it's just more of a symbol because anytime we read it throughout history, it doesn't really do anything. It's just everybody wants it. It's the weirdest thing. But as everybody's showing up, so is the Riddler and Catwoman, who have the eye, and of course a government agency with tons of backup because they're not paying for this thing. They show up as well. Everything gets into a big boogaloo. Everybody's battling it out. And they tell you that at the beginning and kind of work everything backwards. They do that kind of storytelling in here. And then, of course, it's random flashbacks trying to make this thing sound important. Again, the thing just has a legend behind it. We don't actually see this Eye of Christ do anything. Like, nothing. It's just rumored at this point. Anyway, during the whole entire battle, the eyeball falls and kind of rolls down, and this guy picks it up, and his glasses are, of course, clocks. And he was like perfectly on time. And I was just like, oh, that's World's Finest, 111. First appearance of Clock King. Nice. A lot of flashbacks this week. All right, so moving into Captain America. So there's a big coating, if you will, inside the shield that expands to a dark government, kind of really ruling everything. Apparently, they have a lot more control than what normally we would be introduced to, right? Usually they're like, they control the banks, the media, the government, blah, blah, blah. But this one was smart. So a bunch of ham operators that Captain America does, because they're all old, are kind of going around and they're decoding a code, but the code in itself isn't an answer, right? It's code within a code type of thing. So as I was going through, your boy decided to do a little research. I truly am a lonely man. So let's break this down real quick for you guys, just to kind of help out about what they're actually talking about in it. It may not all make sense. So we got Captain America. The first reference, 002, was Simcar. This takes place in the Marvel universe, right? This is a border country to Doom's homeland, and it's also where Silver Sable is from, and her whole team back then that would hunt down World War II bad guys. Right, that was kind of their shtick then. 003 is reference to the 2014 negative interest rates on a particular banking system in Europe. So there's the money aspect, right? You can control money, things along those lines. It was a huge, huge, huge mess up. 006 is dealing with Jean-Pierre paintings, and the museum that is mentioned is the Louvre. Let's see, moving on, 009, Gentry Providence protest wave. All right, so this is in reference to the tenement student movement back in the 80s. You probably remember the imagery of the lone Chinese guy with the shopping bag and a tank in front of him. Boom. Okay. And 0011, okay, this is weird, because this is self-explanatory into the story. I thought it would have been something else, but the story actually explains it. It says the Forge goes back up online, which is a power plant, a green power plant in Germany someplace. And this is where Captain America meets up and first introduces himself to the bad guys in this case, who turn out to be people he kind of knows, because everybody has this piecemeal kind of gear and styles together. Like, these guys learned their ninja skills from this thing, but they're wearing the armor from AIM. And one guy had a Hydra tattoo. So it's a hodgepodge, right, of these guys. And plus one of them was a government agent that Captain America has worked for before. We get a cool bad guy. He shoots out of a ship that looks like Captain America's shield inverted. So yeah, a lot of good stuff happening in this one. Good stuff. Really enjoyed it. Next, Strange Academy. So this is a filler issue. The kids protest, left the school, right? They're out. They go to find them down, come to find out that there's no demands, right? They're just protesting. There's no answer to what they want for the actions that they're performing. Well, come to find out, Doyle's like, wait a second, I gave her a ring to help her live. Emily, our de facto leader for the group, and it may be infecting her with dark dimension powers. And this gets confirmed when she's like, screw all you adults, we're going to the dark dimension. And they take off. That's a short review. Kids being kids. If you want to control kids, you want kids to do what they say, very simple. Take away their cell phone. Done. All right, next, Ghost Rider. Another great comic book character in this one, and it's Ringmaster. So Ringmaster's first appearance was in Hulk number 3. Again, just great storytelling in here. I'm really starting to like this kind of oddball witch girl and her, straight edge, bureaucratic FBI agent guy. But this is simplistic. It's just Ghost Rider going down the road. We're not really sure where he's supposed to be going, and then he runs into like baddies along the way. But there's an ultimate thing that is happening that's kind of building up to it. So it's a quest story, if you will, with these little tiny side quests off to the side, and then of course the government chasing him down behind. But we know that something's festering inside of Ghost Rider, and that weird skull with a little eyeball pops out every now and then. It seems to be growing and festing in him. So yeah, gory. And it's the first time I've never thought of the Ringmaster as being a gory horror type of thing, because he's always kind of campy and cheesy in the comic books in the past. But this one is like a circus of murder where it just kills entire towns. It's great stuff. Next, Prodigy 1. I like the artwork in Volume 1 a lot better than I like this. But this is just basically just a rehashing of the character. However, we got a new villain in this one. A super big brain guy like Prodigy himself, Mr. Kane himself. And basically the writer's trying to express how his mind works in this. And I thought they did a better job of that in Volume 1. But regardless, we kind of have a campy villain in this one. He's got chimpanzee hands because he says the dexterity is so much better. I guess that's true. It seems like it would be more of a hindrance to me, but whatever. I'm not going to debate it. But I like the villain in this, and I like the way he's intelligence-wise equal to our hero in this case, right? Prodigy. So yeah, but not really a whole lot goes on in here that we didn't already know if you read Volume 1. Next, we got Twig. Twig came out. So we meet a bad guy, supposedly, right? Perception's everything. He catches Twig there and wants to skin him for his fur to sell it. 'Cause it's how he makes a living, right? Well, Twig is also trying to hunt down an animal to take its heart so he can fix a stone. So really, you have two characters in here. One's considered good, one's considered bad. But overall, does the ends justify the means in this particular case, right? So it's all about perspective and content at the end of the day. I definitely like Twig. I think he's a good guy, no doubt. And obviously, the other one was bad because circumstantial, right? So a shallow look at something shouldn't be the definition of something without context or some sort of realism behind it. And that's what Twig is trying to relate to you. And he understands that what he's doing kind of sucks, right? But he has to do it to save his world, whereas the other person just wants money. But you need money to live, right? But you need to buy things to live. That's weird. What do you think? Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Is it really the same thing? Is it that black and white? Or is there some subject or some conjecture that can be added in here? And where would you add it? So yeah. Next and last, Closet. Man, I love this book. I'm going to tell you why. Because this kid's dad, that's obviously being tormented by something living in a closet and chasing him down. Dad's over here going through a midlife crisis, wishing that his life would be, more exciting. Now, from what I understand, this guy has no job. The wife is the one that works in this family, and there's nothing wrong with that. I totally think that is fine. And then, the father takes on the other roles in the house. Not that any role of being responsible adults is one sex or the other. I don't believe in that. However, if you're miserable and you're bored and you're like, oh, I just wish my life was exciting again. Apparently he cheated on his wife at one point, and he's over here whining to his best friend while trying to get across the country to live in a new home. This wife to take whatever. He's whining. He's just whining. I'll be honest with you. I hate it when people are like, "Yeah, I'm going through my midlife crisis." That's not a crisis. You're just bored. Get a hobby. Go skydiving. I don't know. Put Legos together like they were talking about in the book. I don't. I hate it when they depict people this way. And what's even worse is when you meet these people, because these people exist. It's even worse. It's whining and complaining. Wish I was back in high school. Things were so much. Doubt it. I challenge that thought, because if you're bored now, you were probably boring back then. So yeah, I don't know. I'll keep reading it because I like. Sometimes I like to be annoyed, right? It's not like I'm going to DMV for fun or anything, but like sometimes a good character can annoy you, right? And you just want to see him, get fixed or something. I don't know. It's so bad. And poor kids just getting chased down by some little midget demon thingy. It's so great. All right, guys, so that's my haul for this week. What did you think? More importantly, what did you pick up this week and think of it? Let me know down in the comments down below. Am I missing something? Is there something I should be reviewing or reading? I've been looking, possibly going outside of my LCS and maybe finding some other things out there. So if you have any new releases coming up or anything, suggestions, I would love to know about it. Also, I will be appearing on Mr. Comics 89. I'll be appearing over at his debate called The Knockout. That should be exciting. It's round 2 for me. Whoa, I won my first round. Moving on. And I got Darkseid. And apparently I got to argue against Thor. I don't see this being that hard. I'm going to crush Thor. I'm going to make everybody embarrassed that they even know what Thor is. So definitely check that out. I'll put the link down in the description below. So definitely head on over there and hit that notification bell. So when that pops up on July the 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can be there because we'll need your votes. So, if you want to swing by. All right, guys, I got nothing else. I'm out of here. Bye.